No intro to this video, there's just no time. I have so much to tell you about the Daft Punk album Discovery, and specifically how it all comes together on the song Face to Face, why it's a masterclass in sampling, songwriting, and why this album is more than just fun dance music. This is high-level art. I mean, I guess that was kind of an intro. Whatever. Let's dive in. Daft Punk's 2001 album Discovery is a masterpiece. They took some of the house music ideas they explored in their first album, Homework from 1997, and then ventured away, polishing the production, adding even more samples, chopping them up even more, and rolled together so many different genres of music into this electronic album. For example, the album opens with the song One More Time. If you only know one song from this album, it's probably this one. They sampled the song More Spell on You by Eddie Johns from 1979, and right from the start of the album, they're showing what they can do with sampling. Alright, so here's the original sample. Start to slow it down, and you'll start to hear it. Here we go. One more time. Daft Punk have taken this obscure Liberian disco song, chopped it up, flipped it, and built a house music hit around it, featuring one of their biggest influences, Romanthany. But if you think this sampling is crazy, just watch as we move through the album. The second song on Discovery is Aerodynamic, which takes this chopping technique to a new level. Again, this song is built from sampling a single song, in this case, Ilmaquillage Lady by Sister Sledge from 1982. Sister Sledge's biggest hits were We Are Family and He's the Greatest Dancer from 1979, but this song is from early 1982. It's that in-between period where disco is fading, but Thriller hasn't been released yet, and the sound that we now think of as very 1980s hasn't really completely solidified yet. So Daft Punk is taking a lesser-known song from a well-known group, primarily known for disco, and just chopping it up to the point where you can tell the sample's in there, but you're not sure how exactly. Alright, so here's the original sample. We'll slow it down, and already you'll start to hear fragments of the song in there. It's just that much. And you can see I have a lot of little chops in there, just cue points, right? So I got bass notes, and then there's other guitar parts in there as well, right? Now let's put that all together and make something new. So the first track chopped up one song, the second chopped up one song even more, and the next few tracks all use longer samples from songs around the same era, the late 70s. Digital Love uses longer samples taken from the intro of George Duke's 1979 song I Love You More. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger samples the 1979 Edwin Birdsong song Cola Bottle Baby, which, yes, this song was then in turn sampled by Kanye West for the 2007 song Stronger. There's a lot more to that story, so much so that I actually already made another video about the genius of Edwin Birdsong. After that, Crescendolls uses a sample of Can You Imagine by the Imperials from 1977. And then we get to Night Vision. Some people have speculated that this samples the 10cc song I'm Not in Love from 1975, but this has never been officially confirmed. Regardless, I'm Not in Love is clearly the inspiration behind this song. Alright, so here's Night Vision by Daft Punk. Sounds an awful lot like I'm Not in Love by 10cc.
I'm not in love, so don't forget it.
Actually, you know what I think I could do? If I I'll slow this down, speed this up a little. I'm gonna have to change keys on this to match, and then let's take out everything but the vocal here, and then let's see if that works.
I'm not in love, so don't forget it. It's just a silly phase I'm going through.
There you go.
And just because I call you up.
And when I say it's inspiring, I don't just mean that the songs sound similar. 10cc used an insane technique to create this song. They essentially recorded themselves singing ahs on a series of notes, manually created 12-foot tape loops out of them, then literally played the mixing board. So the ethereal choir sound that you hear is the 4 members of the band sitting at the mixing desk, raising and lowering the faders of the mixing desk, creating chords and effectively playing it like an instrument. Hold on to this idea as well as the sampling we've talked about so far, because this all comes to a head on the penultimate track, Face to Face. I've never used the word penultimate before. That was fun. Just came out really naturally. I don't know, it felt right. I want to say a quick thank you to RipX for sponsoring this video. If you love sampling and remixing, or you just want to practice along with the original song, this is an incredible tool. Let me show you really quickly some of the things this software can do. If you just want to extract stems, check this box and it'll make high quality separated stems in the instruments you select. But let me show you what else we can do, because it gets pretty crazy. I play bass and I want to practice along with it so I can isolate the bass and learn the part, or mute the bass so I can play along. Over here I have inputs for selecting audio and MIDI and MPE devices. I can record my own bass part in after muting the original, or record a vinyl record for sampling or audio cleanup. But here's where it gets mind-blowing. Now I can grab individual notes out of this chord and change the chord. You want to layer in an additional kick sound with the kick that's happening? You want to add an effect to just one part? Let's make it sound like a marimba. This version is using RipX's Deep Create and Deep Remix, but the Deep Audio module goes even further with tools like Harmonic Editor and Audio Cleanup, so you can get the exact sound you want at the highest quality possible. To download your free 21-day RipX trial, go to hitandmix.com. The next 2 songs, Superheroes and High Life, use the longer sampling and chopped techniques respectively, and throughout this album, Daft Punk isn't just sampling, they're putting drums underneath and other instruments on top. And on the next track, Something About Us, there's no samples at all. It's just Daft Punk playing guitar, bass, keys, and singing this mellow, understated, almost R&B song, but still decidedly electronic. Voyager, the next track, has this crazy funky bass line, then Veridis Quo, which is basically a play on Very Disco, begins with this very Bach-sounding intro before the rest of the instruments come in. And you know I love me some Bach. And then we get to Short Circuit. I love this song so much. It doesn't have any samples, and it feels almost like a cartoonish version of an electronic song, like it's leaning into the things that people who don't like electronic music would complain about. But then it comes full circle because the song is actually so cool. Midway through the song, this breaks down a bit, and then the bits start to break apart. It starts sounding like a very low-quality digital recording. This has been described by Daft Punk as the act of shutting down, and afterwards you gain consciousness and are face-to-face with reality. And wouldn't you know it, as soon as this song finishes, we get to what I think is the climax of the album, Face to Face. I consider this the climax for a few reasons. For one, Face to Face was produced by Daft Punk as well as American house music producer Todd Edwards. Daft Punk credits Todd Edwards as a huge inspiration, so they were very excited to work with him on this track. Their other big inspiration that they mentioned was Romanthany, who's featured on the first and then last tracks of the album. So Daft Punk is sort of bookending the album with features from their biggest inspirations. For 2, the original concept of this song was that it would go with a live-action movie scene, and this is the climactic moment in the movie where the protagonist is in a battle, but then it's revealed that he's actually facing himself in a mirror. Todd Edwards had this in mind when he wrote the lyrics, and specifically wrote them so that they could be sung to another person, to yourself in a mirror, or to God. I mean, that's fine, but it's just the lyrics. Like, this is just a fun dance song, right? Edwards' vocals are doubled, meaning there's 2 takes of him being heard on the track. So, oh right, face to face, I get it. That's a nice touch. I like when artists do stuff like that. Too bad there's no mirroring effect like that with the music. And then there's the samples. We just dug through the rest of the album and saw a variety of sampling styles used, some longer samples, some chopped, some pitched or slowed down, etc. But when it comes to Face, the climax of the album, Daft Punk is in full Masterclass mode. Okay, first up is Evil Woman by Electric Light Orchestra from 1975. Let's just play a little snippet of it. That right there. Let's take that, chop right around there. There's also a few other chops from this same sample, so let's grab those. I'll load that into my drum rack. Next up is another Electric Light Orchestra song from 1974, Can't Get It Out of My Head. That's it right there, let's grab that. Okay, so we're pitching this up 4 half steps, 2 whole steps, 4 semitones, whatever you want to call it. Here we go. That's it. Right there. Let's export that, get that into our drum rack. Next up is Silence and I by Alan Parsons Project from 1982. Here's the original.
Silence and night, we'll find.
That hit right there is what we need. Zoom in and we're gonna grab it. All right, so we're pitching up this hit 3 semitones. Into the drum rack it goes. Let's keep that Parsons train going with Old and Wise from 1982.
Right through me in song.
That's what we want right in the middle here. Let's tune this up. Perfect. Now we got it in the drum rack. Loggins and Messina, House at Pooh Corner, 1972. Who would have thought Winnie the Pooh and Daft Punk would get along? This is my favorite sample by far because this is insane. Who would think to take this?
To the days of Christopher Robin.
Right there. He's saying Christopher, Robin, and Pooh.
Days of Christopher Robin and Pooh.
Right? Crazy. All right, let's take that, chop it up. We're gonna pitch that up.
Christopher Robin.
Put it in the drum rack. There's also a shorter version of that sample that just doesn't finish the whole phrase. And now we got those in our drum rack. And finally, Twins theme by Dan Fogelberg and Tim Weisberg. Just a couple of bergs. Okay, so this is the first section right here. Let's take all these micro chops and put them together. This was probably sequenced on Daft Punk's end, so they're not actually playing it live, but just to show you how involved this is, I'm gonna do the best I can. Now, some of these Twins theme samples, that's happening in there, but I'm not really gonna be able to play that while I'm playing the rest of them. This will get us mostly there. All right, here we go. Now this has drums and additional production to it, but this is the core sampling of the song. This chopping method is what Todd Edwards is known for, so he's a big part of why this song sounds the way it does. If we've bookended the album with their influences, Face to Face is a culmination of everything that happened in between. We've got the most involved sampling on the album, keeping with some of those 70s and 80s samples. And oh, remember that 10cc song where they played the soundboard as the instrument? That's exactly what's happening here with Face to Face. They're playing samples from multiple different songs and turning it into a new instrument. It's very similar to how a MIDI keyboard will trigger the sample of like a Rhodes or a piano or whatever, except instead of a single note, it's cueing a part of a song. On Face to Face, Daft Punk is doing somewhat of a victory lap, touching on all of these production elements that we've just heard through the rest of the album. But we haven't even talked about the coolest part. This new instrument that's being played, it's not just instrumental, it's vocal too. Daft Punk and Todd Edwards are singing words with these samples. That House at Pooh Corner sample was selected specifically because it sort of sounds like he's saying face to face, but in a sort of a scrambled way. Face to face, and face to face now. Heard in that context, this instrumental section takes on a brand new life. You are face to face now. You are face to face with me. Come on! Go back and listen to this song with this understanding of it, and it's unbelievable. The album ends with the song Too Long, and we're right back where we started, a house track featuring Romanthany. This album almost has like a hero's journey arc to it. We start with a house track, the genre that their previous album, Homework, was in. It features Romanthany, a big influence of theirs, and then it moves through many different production styles and musical genres, all coming to a climax with Face to Face, which incorporates and transforms all of the elements that came before it, right down to using the samples to sing the hook. And then we finally arrive back home, a house track with Romanthany, but everything is different now. This album has had a massive influence on many songs, albums, and artists since its release, and it even changed the way Daft Punk made music. They felt much more comfortable venturing into other areas musically and working with other people after this album. This culminated into what would be their last album and most collaborative, 2013's Random Access Memories. So I've never done this before, so it's gonna be kind of an experiment. If you liked this video, would you do me a favor and hit the like button? I've also got a lot of other videos like these, so click the subscribe button and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. And then remember how I mentioned that Edwin Birdsong sample? Daft Punk sampled Edwin and Kanye sampled Daft Punk, but there's a lot more to Edwin Birdsong and his larger impact on music. I mean, a lot more. But for that whole story, you gotta watch this video.